check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 710 ESPN LA. That's 98.7 FM, New York City, and of course nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Once again, that's 866-SAY-ESPN. Look, let me be the first to admit it. I am very depressed that the New York Yankees are not in the World Series. I'm very depressed about it. But damn, am I excited that the Dodgers are there. I wanted to see the Yankees against the Dodgers. I wanted it bad. I really, really did. But I got to tell you, seeing the Dodgers in this World Series last night, I had a little bit of goosebumps. And let me tell you something. The Astros were in it. The Astros were in it. When you look at it from the perspective, from the standpoint, that it was 1-1 in the sixth inning, and then Justin Turner gets a lighter bat that looked a little bit longer and smacked a 2-run shot over the left center field wall off of Mr. Keuchel himself. I got to tell you something. You look at it from that perspective, and that's what it took, because what a hell of a game this was. First of all, it was under 2.5 hours. Thank the good Lord it wasn't one of them 3.5 to 4 hour marathons that baseball can subject you to. Yes, it was 103-degree heat weather, but damn it, that's better than freezing. It's better than freezing. And then you look at Kershaw, who was clearly the story of this game. This dude, Clayton Kershaw, who during the regular season is in the conversation to be the best pitcher in the history of the game. And I watched him wheel and deal last night. 11 strikeouts, 0 walks. In 7 complete innings, he was nothing short of sensational. No more choke job with Kershaw. No more conversations about a choke job. You show up in game 1 of the World Series and you wheel and deal like that, there's nothing to talk about anymore. There's nothing to talk about. This dude was absolutely sensational. He isn't the only one that deserves credit, ladies and gentlemen. Because it was strike, strike, strike all night long. Austin Barnes, the catcher, called a great game. For those of you that don't understand baseball, that don't comprehend it, it's not just on the pitcher, you know. A lot of times it's on the catcher, too. The catcher is the one that you're talking to. He's the one telling you what pitches to use. You can usually wave them off, et cetera, but the catcher is the one calling the game. And when Keuchel gave up that 2-run shot to Turner, one of the things that you saw him do immediately was turn around and growl at his catcher. This is what happens because they're calling a particular pitch. You vibe with that. You go with it, and you end up getting caught. And when you get caught, you're looking at the catcher, too, because guess what? They might have had you throw a pitch you didn't want to throw. But in Barnes' case last night, he kept Kershaw low and around the plate all night long. And then you look at some of these quotes. Springer for the Astros, who struck out 4 times. Quote, video doesn't do it any justice. Until you get in the box and you see what the ball does, the depth, the angle of it, the video can only take you so far. McCarthy for the Astros, put it another way. He was strike after strike after strike after strike. That's a quote. That is a quote. This is the kind of stuff that you got subjected to last night watching Clayton Kershaw do what only he seems to be able to do in this day and age. Even though Verlander is coming to the hill tonight, who the hell knows what he'll do. By the way, when I said McCarthy, that was the Dodgers pitcher. That wasn't an Astro. You get what I'm saying, though. Kershaw's performance, joining legendary Don Newcomb in becoming the only pitcher in World Series history to record 11 strikeouts without a walk, allowed just 3 hits and 1 run. Remember that postseason 7th inning jinx? Where he had a 25.50 ERA. That is not an exaggeration. His ERA in the 7th inning was 25.50. Survived Sega's bobbled grounder to walk off the mound intact. I thought Sega almost cost him something. Only thing I don't like about these Dodgers, I just think it's disgusting seeing Yasiel Puig's tongue all the damn time. I'm just tired of seeing his tongue wagging all over the place. He's not a dog. I don't like it. It's a turnoff. It really, really is. I don't like it. I'll be the first to admit it. That's about the only thing wrong with the Dodgers right now. They're getting hits when they need it. They're getting exceptional pitching, not just to start, but to finish games with Jansen. We ain't even have to bring in middle relief. And now you got Rich Hill and Yu Darvish coming up for you. Look. I believe this is going to be a 7-game series. But it wouldn't shock me at all if it ends in 5. It should be 7 games, and here's why it should go 7 games. I expect Verlander to win tonight. A.J. Hinch, manager for the Astros, basically said this is a must-win situation. Because if Keuchel and Verlander lose games 1 and 2 for you, what hope do you have? They got to find a way to get it done. We all know this. And if anybody can get it done, it's Mr. Verlander. Check and find out, is Kate Upton in the house? Is she going to be at the game tonight? Because if he's Popeye, that's his spinach. If he's Samson, she's his Delilah. Somehow, someway, I never see him lose when she's around. Ever. The dude is 10-0. With an ERA never near 1 in the last 10 postseason starts. He's undefeated since he arrived in Houston August 31st from Detroit. This brother Verlander's on another level. And Kate Upton is right there cheering him on. Talk about inspiration. I mean, there's some serious stuff going on right here. This is a must-win for the Astros, I believe. But let's assume for a second that the Astros win Game 2 tonight. I don't see the Dodgers winning all 3 in Houston. So let's just say the Dodgers managed to win 2 of the 3. Or 1 of the 3. They either come back to L.A. up 3-2 or down 3-2. That's why I think this is going 7 games. Got to just take a moment to give props to several people. I gave it to Kershaw. I gave it to Bonds. Got to give it to Turner as well. How about Chris Taylor? First pitch of the World Series. Everybody braves the traffic on the 405 and beyond. On the 10 and everywhere else. On the 5, I mean everywhere. They're coming from everywhere to see the Dodgers. And what happens? You get to the 54,000 strong. Brave the traffic. Get to Chavez Ravine in 103-degree heat. Bacon. And the first pitch, Chris Taylor smacks that bad boy out of the park over the left field pavilion. I mean, this was something special. 54,250 seats. Filled to capacity. Everybody's in the house. And the first pitch in your first World Series since 1988, you smack a home run. I mean, it was something special, y'all. It was something special to behold. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. Got some NFL stuff to get into. Got Colin Kaepernick to get into. Got some NBA stuff to get into with Lonzo Ball being a target tonight by Mr. John Wall of the Washington Wizards because LeVar Ball decided to talk too much smack that John Wall wasn't trying to hear. All of that and more. There's a lot of stuff to get into. And oh, by the way, I told you the New York Knicks have an opportunity to get Eric Bledsoe. Didn't I mention that? So much to get into.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Lots of stuff to get into. Hour number 2, we're going to start off with the great Tim Kurkjian for ESPN. He'll be on the line with us. Looking forward to talking to him about Game 1 of the World Series, what we witnessed last night, what we can expect to see moving forward, plus some basketball stuff to get into, along with some other things. So make sure you stick around. Looking forward to having that conversation with you right here live on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get to some calls about this World Series, what we saw. Let's go to Ben. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Ben? Talk to me. Ben, are you there? Ben, going once, going twice. Ben, Mike, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Mike.
What's going on, man? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Go ahead, man.
Talking about Kershaw pitched a good game last night, man. I was surprised with, his postseason performance, but he pitched a good. He threw like he should be for all that money he's making.
Well,
How did you think he did?
Mike, people do that, but you know what? I think folks are entirely too hard on Kershaw, and here's why. His ERA certainly wasn't what it was during the regular season throughout his career. We get that. But usually he'll give you 6 strong innings. The problem was the 7th inning for him was a disaster, which speaks more to fatigue than anything else, right? And I don't know how everyone continues to ignore that Southern California heat and the kind of impact it can have on you when that mileage is accumulated on your body. How many times during the regular season, throughout Kershaw's career, Mike, have we seen him on the hill pitching into the 8th inning even though they got a 4-run lead?
Exactly. I got you.
So my point is that, you know what? The dude was overworked. Their bullpen, they didn't have much of a bullpen, particularly when Mattingly was the manager. Now they've got that. And because they've got that, along with Jansen to close, all they're asking him to do is go to 7. And then after that, he's fine. You see, and he could come out. And I think that's worked wonders. And I think him being on a DL for a month and 4 days from July 23rd to August 27th, I think was significant because he got that rest he deserved and needed so desperately. And I think it made him stronger for this postseason.
Well, if he gonna continue like he doing now, man, Houston ain't got a shot. Wait a minute. He gonna pitch maybe 3 times at the most. Games 1, 4, and 7 if necessary. I mean, to me, if Rich Hill and Yu Darvish can't get it done, it gives Houston a shot before Game 7. That's right. If it go that way, but I think Rich Hill and Yu Darvish gonna get a game out of one of them, man. I really believe that out of one of them because, like you said yesterday, if they come up anything short of the title, the whole season was for nothing. So they got this. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're playing for.
Yeah, but you got to remember the Astros, Hurricane Harvey. How that particular area in Houston was ravaged, how they've been balling, how they've got the number 1 offense in every statistical category imaginable throughout the season. Altuve, Correa, Springer, Bregman, and the boys. These brothers can play. They got a high-powered offense for a reason. I can't sleep on them.
Right. Who you going with, though? What's your prediction?
I'm going with the Dodgers in 7.
But
I think it's going to take 7.
Okay, that's a good analogy. And one more quick thing before we go. I seen this morning on First Take, y'all was talking about LeBron or Magic at the point guard. Come on, man. Sometimes Max get out there, Stephen A. I know. Well, he's not an extra.
We know what time it is. I never said that Magic. I never would say, just to let my listeners know, you're alluding to the debate that Max Kellerman and I had on First Take this morning where we asked who would be the better point guard, who's the point guard you would take, Magic or LeBron. I said on Magic's best day, he's nowhere near the overall phenomenal player and athlete that LeBron James is. But specifically for the point guard spot, I'm taking Magic all day. Magic knew how to run a team. Magic was an exceptional passer. Magic was a winner. Magic knew how to galvanize the troops. And Magic came onto the NBA level a winner. Whereas LeBron had to learn how to do that because he spent the first decade of his career deferring to everybody, but the equipment manager. That's just the truth. And so for me, when I look at LeBron, I say to myself, as phenomenal as he is, as a talent being on the Mount Rushmore of the NBA, as a point guard, does he deserve to be picked ahead of Magic Johnson? Absolutely not. And I stand by that.
Well, man, it's good talking to you like always, man.
Take it easy, bro.
With the good show, and I'll be listening.
I'll holler at you, no doubt. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Listen, I said it and I meant it. LeBron is phenomenal. One of the top 4 talents on the basketball court we've ever seen in NBA history. But that don't mean I would pick him as a point guard over Magic. Would I pick him as a player? Sure. Would I start a franchise with him before Magic? Sure. But for the purposes of strictly the point guard position, I'm going with Magic. Because the intangibles matter. Being a leader matters. Magic didn't have any player the caliber of a Kyrie Irving looking to leave because he didn't want to play with him. That Magic didn't have that. James Worthy didn't want to leave. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't want to leave. Michael Thompson or Kurt Rambis didn't. Norm Nixon or Byron Scott didn't want to leave. Michael Cooper didn't want to leave. That's Magic. That's who Magic is. Magic's that galvanizing force that brings pieces together. Why do you think we believe in the Lakers the way that we believe in the Lakers right now? Because of Magic. We respect Rob Pelinka. I know he knows basketball. I know he knows the business of basketball. He was an agent, a damn good one. Personally, I like him. But he ain't Magic. Let's be clear. Let's be very clear. Lakers turn around, it's going to be because of what Magic does. Ain't going to be because of what anybody else does. That's the kind of faith we have in him. That's the kind of faith New Yorkers wish they could have in somebody. Can't find a damn soul. Closest soul, as far as I'm concerned, is Mark Jackson. And I don't even want Mark Jackson to take the New York Knicks job now. They're a joke. They'll get better. I like the fact that Steve Mills and Scott Perry are there, but I want them working behind the scenes. You need the face of a franchise speaking to the media every day, galvanizing the folks in New York City to have faith and to give them the benefit of the doubt that this franchise is going in the right direction. Jeff Hornacek ain't the man for that job. That's got to be Mark Jackson, but I want him in a better situation than he's in right now. I don't want him inheriting that. 866. Say ESPN. Roger and Cali, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. I don't think enough props is given to that 88 group of Dodgers. That no-name bunch.
Stop it. The Dodgers are sick to their stomach because it's all they hear about are the 88 Dodgers. What are you talking about?
I haven't heard any interviews with some of those players except
I'm sorry. Somebody interviewed Kirk Gibson just the other day. Tommy Lasorda's around all the time.
Steve, Kirk played, he got one home run.
That mattered. That was epic. That was epic.
What about my boy from Virginia Tech, Cadillac Franklin Stubbs, that played first base?
Really? That's where you're going? Really? That's where you're going?
Pull up one of those guys, man. Let's hear one of those no-name bunch, man.
You just said it. No names. No names.
Let's give some props to them.
You give props to them. The 88 World Series, that's the last time the Dodgers won. How could you not give props to them? You ain't won since. You got no choice but to give props to them. That's my point.
Stephen, get one of the no-names on, please. Just one.
No.
One of the no-names.
No.
Come on.
No, you're lucky you on. Why would I bring a no-name on? For what? What happened that we didn't see? Where the highlights?
Come on. I thought you liked the underdog. Don't you like the underdog?
How you the underdog? You won. Get
the no-name guy on, Steve, please.
Bye, Roger. Have a nice day. I heard your point the first, second, and third time. It doesn't work with me. 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. 866-SAY-ESPN. Back with more of your phone calls in a minute. Plus, I'll get into LeVar Ball and Lonzo Ball and the fact that John Wall coming to town tonight is a problem for this team and that individual, the number 2 overall pick out of UCLA. I'll explain that and more in a minute. Plus, get into Colin Kaepernick. Guess who's about to be an author? So much to get into, and we will. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! This dude, this call out of Cali, gonna sit up there. Why don't you bring on Franklin Stubbs, first baseman for the Dodgers, 1988 World Series champions. Batted .223 that year. .220. Wasn't as bad as Alfredo Griffin batting .199. All right? But certainly wasn't Kirk Gibson. He wasn't John Shelby. Wasn't Mike Marshall. Hell, wasn't Mike Scioscia, the manager for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim right now. Wasn't even Mike Scioscia. Let's keep all of this in perspective. We know why the Dodgers won that World Series. We know why they were special. We know why they matter so much to all of us. I mean, can you say Oral Hershiser? Can you say that? People better pump their brakes, put stuff in check. Hell's the matter with you people? Fernando Valenzuela. Those were the good old days with the Dodgers, though. I give him that. No question. But, I mean, it's like, come on now. Let's pump the brakes. Let's understand what we're looking at here. Let's not act like we don't know. And the Dodgers have gotten more than enough props. Because everybody's been talking about that 88 team. That's what everybody's been talking about. If we're being honest about it. That year, Oral Hershiser was 23-8 with a 2.26 ERA. You had Tim Leary, Tim Belcher, Valenzuela. And he was their worst pitcher. ERA-wise, anyway. 866. Say ESPN. It's 866-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Let's see. Let's go to Chris in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, man? Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. How are you?
I'm all right. Go ahead, man.
Good. I just want to touch on the whole LeVar Ball and what he said about Lonzo today regarding the Wizards coming to town.
Go ahead.
This goes back. Yeah, this just goes back to the Bulls down his back. But I listened to you on First Take today, you and Max. And Max says he shouldn't be worried. You said he should be worried. I mean, I agree. But I just don't like the fact that the Lakers, the Brandon Ingrams and all that stuff having his back, they just play better. Our only win is against Phoenix, who, like you guys mentioned, is not even an NBA team. And excuse me, it's just I just feel bad. Like, honestly, Stephen, they might not even put Lonzo on John Wall today. I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably not. Probably not. But at some point in time, listen. Part of getting better is manning up. And if you don't mind your daddy talking so much smack about you, don't duck and hide when the competition is looking for you because of what your daddy said either. Let's be clear about that.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. But it's just, I mean, if he's willing to take on the challenge, Luke Walton say go ahead. But if he's not willing to take on the challenge, then I won't be surprised if he's not on John Wall at all.
Well,
today,
let me say this about John Wall.
Maybe in cross matches and transition defense. But
hold on, Chris. Let me say this about John Wall. Y'all understand that John Wall is one of the best two-way point guards in the game. There's very few point guards that play defense like this man. Very few. I mean, he is an elite player. Got tied in Game 7, wet the bed in the fourth quarter because of it. But John Wall is a star in this league. Who's got that chip on his shoulder? You can't talk to me on speakerphone, brother. You can't talk to me from a distance because I got millions of listeners to you. Here's the bottom line. The point that I'm trying to make to you is that John Wall can ball, and John Wall got a chip on his shoulder. And LeVar Ball has deposited quite a few checks that his son ain't capable of cashing. And that's what Laker fans are going to see. Don't give me no near triple-double against the Phoenix Suns, who, by the way, I think have gone about the business of this whole deal with Bledsoe foolishly. Bledsoe should not be at some damn salon with his girlfriend tweeting, "I don't want to be here," thinking he could say he was at the salon and that's what it was. That's a lie. He was talking about not being with the Phoenix Suns. We all know it. But what Ryan McDonough and Robert Sarver and the owner for the Phoenix Suns and others need to realize is that your team stinks. The Phoenix Suns are awful. Their draft picks have been horrendous outside of Devin Booker. And we all know it. You can't get marquee free agents to even give you a visit. Nobody wants to play for you. You got Sarver, according to what I've heard, going into the locker room and drawing up plays his damn self when Earl Watson was the head coach. I mean, that's how bad it is in Phoenix. So if you got all of that going on, and Eric Bledsoe already met with you privately, both Sarver and McDonough, at the end of the season, according to what I was told, and he said he wants out, what's the problem? Now, he's handling it wrong if he did what he did. And I applaud Ryan McDonough for saying, I spoke to him. He says he was at a salon. He was talking about being at the salon. I don't believe him. Fine. You don't want him on the team. You want to hide him from speaking to the media. That's fine. Why are you speaking to the media and he's not? What you scared of, Ryan McDonough? Why are you speaking to the media but Eric Bledsoe can't? Why wasn't he allowed to talk to the media that day? That you spoke to the media. That he wasn't made available. Why is that? He don't want to be there. Who the hell would right now? Phoenix really stinks. It's bad. Alex Lynn. Who the hell is that? I don't even know half the players on their roster. You sat Eric Bledsoe for the last 16, 17 games of the season because you want to tank it to put yourself in a better position in the draft. That didn't even work. I really don't get it. I'm at a loss.
I am too. Well, what about Tyson Chandler? Do you think teams are going to try to go after him since he's
anybody? Listen. Tyson Chandler is going to be an asset for anybody because he's a champion, and he knows what it takes to win. He don't have, but he's limited capability-wise in terms of his own athletic prowess, but he knows what it takes to win.
Right, I agree.
And I'm telling you that right now. I would sit up there. I would add Tyson Chandler to my team.
Oh, definitely.
And let me tell you something. If I'm the New York Knicks, I'm not sure that I would hold on to Frank Ntilikina, this draft pick out of France. I'm not sure I would do that. I really am not sure. Because let me tell you something. We don't know what he's going to be, but we know what Eric Bledsoe is. And if I got Eric Bledsoe along with Kristaps Porzingis, I might have a little something there. Bledsoe's making $14.5 million. Next year is the last year of his deal. If I'm the Knicks, I do the deal. They don't want to give him the Ntilikina this early. They don't want to give him one in this early. But I take my chances. I really, really do. That's just me.
Okay. I need the other guy, but okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Enjoying this podcast? Then you should check out all of ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Baseball analyst and insider extraordinaire, the one and only Tim Kurkjian, will be on the line with us talking about Game 1 of the World Series and what Game 2 should and could potentially look like. Stick around and make sure you tune in, 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. One of the things that I'm going to get into in hour number 2 after Tim Kurkjian is Commissioner David Stern, former commissioner of the National Basketball Association. Mr. David Stern is now at a point where personally, and I'm quoting here, personally, he thinks, quote, it should be removed from the banned list. He's talking about marijuana. I emphatically disagree. I am not a proponent of legalizing the use of marijuana for NBA players, NFL players, Major League Baseball players, or any professional athletes. I am adamantly and totally opposed to it. Period. I will explain why in hour number 2. 866-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Chris, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey, Stephen A., how you doing? Big fan.
I'm all right. Go ahead. Thank you.
Listen, I guess like a lot of other Giant fans, about this press conference with Jerry Reese yesterday, it was just, I mean.
By the way, hold on. Jerry Reese, general manager for the New York Giants, basically said we win together, we lose together. But if you want to put it on me, put it on me. It's on me. We're 1-6. It's on me. Now go ahead.
Yeah, well, technically, all the blame that he took credit for he took along with everybody else. He didn't put anything on himself individually. Mm-hmm. And the media wrote, as a lot of the fans knew, and the talking heads and all the sports talk radio, they all said the right things. But come press conference time, they all folded. Not one of them brought him to task about any of the questions that we wanted to hear.
Like what? What questions did you specifically want answers to?
I wanted to hear him say why he's more concerned with justifying his picks and looking right than he is on trying to fix what is wrong. And why nobody thought Eric Flowers was a top-tier left tackle when he drafted him. About why he's been taken to the woodshed at the draft house every single year. About continually picking third-round picks that are nowhere to be found. And the media is that
I got to tell you something, Chris. I got to stop you. Do you know why? You know why I got to stop you, Chris?
Why is that, Steve?
Because you're 1,000% right, bro. I mean, I think there was some number where they talked about how there was 29 players. Of the 29 players drafted by Reese since 2013, only 2 are still on the roster. That's horrible.
But why didn't the media ask him these questions? They taught him softball and accepted all his answers. They talked about it before, and they eviscerated him after. But everybody
I got to admit to you, I like the guy. I like the guy, Chris. I root for the guy. He's a really nice guy. I've interviewed him on several occasions in the past. I can't defend what I've seen out on that field over the last few years. I can't defend all the years they've missed the playoffs. I can't defend Eric Flowers and what we've seen from him at the tackle spot. I can't defend the lack of a running game. I can't defend the suspect offensive line. I can't defend all the numerous picks that he's missed out on in terms of bringing quality individuals to the roster. I would give anything if I could come to the defense of Jerry Reese. I'm incapable of doing it, Chris. I can't disagree with anything you said.
I felt the media gave him a pass at the press conference.
You're probably right.
Game before and after.
You're probably right.
And it sounds like they're afraid of losing access and annoying him at the press conference.
No. I'm not going to say that to them because they barely have any access. That's number one. But number two, here's what I would say to you, though. Here's what I would say to you, Chris. What is there really to say? Like, if you know the guy's on the way out the door and he's saying it's all on me, what is there really to say? You know what I mean?
I got to give you that one, Steve.
Yeah, that's how you could come to the defense of the media in that regard. There's but so much to say when somebody says you got me. I stink. What do you say to that, Chris?
Charade.
Say what?
Why even have that charade yesterday? He said nothing. He tossed his coach under the bus, which I could tend to agree with. But the media turned around and go, "Sounds like you're blaming your coach." And they didn't even say that. It was really, they just wimped right out of that whole press conference.
Well, here's the good news, Chris. That's why you on with me, because you know that wouldn't have happened with me.
That's right, my brother.
There you go. Take it easy, bro. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you. Call back anytime, Chris. Let's go to Al in Brooklyn. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Al.
Hey, Steve. How you doing today?
How are you, man?
I'm good. I just have a question for you. I want to see what your take is on, like, LeVar Ball and all his antics and his talking and stuff. How you think that's going to affect guys like maybe LeBron, who may opt out this year and might want to go to LA? How you think that it'll affect free agents?
I don't think that's going to have. I don't think that's going to have any effect on them. I think what's going to have an effect on is looking at the roster and seeing how guys perform, whether it's whether it's Clarkson, whether it's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, whether it's Larry Nance Jr. and Julius Randle, how they develop. But the key is going to be looking at how Lonzo Ball plays. If Lonzo Ball doesn't build himself into a real high caliber guy that's potentially box office, on the court, as opposed to due to the hype, extended by his dad, you're not going to be able to attract anybody here.
True. Okay, that's all I wanted to know, because I know like LeBron, his career so far has been like free of all the nonsense, the outside stuff, except for his first time in Cleveland where he left. He came back, but outside of that, everything has been basketball, and not a whole lot of outside influences.
Got it. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Not a bad point. Let's go to Mike in Anaheim. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Mike.
Hey, Stephen A. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Quick question. I don't know, was it a coaching mistake when Lakers were playing early this week and they were down, and the group that brought them back, they ended up putting them on the bench, and then the Pelicans went on to win? Was that a coaching mistake? I mean, why weren't those players rewarded to help the lead and help win the game, and were taken out with coaching?
Well, could have been. I mean, they went on a 29-5 run without Lonzo Ball. And then ultimately inserted those guys back into the game, and they lost. You could look at it that way, but it does beg the question: what's the priority? Is the priority to win games or to foster the development of young guys that you're going to be looking to rely upon down the stretch?
Would it be a crime to put a change in the lineup instead of always starting out where we're in a deficit, and put the players that can score first on the floor so we can have a lead, and then substitute your better players so then they can catch up?
Well, they don't believe they're substituting better players, Mike. They believe that their starters are their better players. Their starters are their closers as well. That's how they view it. You might have a different view. You might be right, but it's not like they're putting guys on the bench who they think are inferior to the starters.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Steve. Good point.
All right. Take it easy.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Hour number 2. The Stephen A. Smith Show here with you for the next hour over the airways of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 80. Always an honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line, baseball analyst and insider extraordinaire for the family, the one and only Tim Kurkjian. He's on the line with us right now. Good afternoon, good morning, Tim. How are you, buddy? How's everything?
I'm well, Stephen A. I'm at the World Series. Doesn't get any better than this.
I know that. I got to ask you, you've been around for a long time. First of all, Tim, break this down for me. First of all, how long have you been covering Major League Baseball?
I've been covering since 1979. I've been to every World Series starting with 81. So I've been doing this a really, really long time. And I covered minor league baseball also.
So you've been covering Major League Baseball for 1979, been at every World Series since the early 80s. When have you seen a performance like what Clayton Kershaw put forth last night?
Well, that was staggeringly good, Stephen A. And as you know, that's the first time in World Series history that any pitcher has struck out 10 or more, no walks, and 3 hits or fewer in a World Series game. No one has ever done that before until Clayton Kershaw last night. And he threw 83 pitches and struck out 11 guys. The last guy in any game, regular season or postseason, to do that was Randy Johnson 13 years ago, where he used 82 pitches to strike out 11. It just shows you how dominant he was, and more important, how efficient he was. Stephen A., that game took 2 hours and 28 minutes because both pitchers are really good. They attacked the strike zone. Hitters went up there looking to swing the bat, and Clayton Kershaw said, not today.
What kind of advantage does that give the Dodgers considering the amount of pitches that Clayton Kershaw threw last night? Because it wasn't that many. He wasn't overworked, and that means he could easily be fresh for about 2 more starts in all likelihood, right?
I think he could. I think he could go 1, 4, and 7 in this series because he's that strong physically. Now, keep in mind, some of his issues that he's had in the postseason over the years is he has pitched on short rest, and eventually it comes back to get anyone that does that in today's day and age. But 83 pitches in Game 1 might allow him, if they keep winning, to start Game 5, let's say, on full rest. And then if it goes further than that and they need him in relief for Game 7 or more than that, I think he could do that too. That was really important last night, how efficient he was.
Tim Kurkjian right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Justin Turner, explain to me that 2-run smack that he hit. The bat looked longer and lighter than the previous 2 at-bats that he had. Talk to me about that a little bit right now and how he got up on Keuchel for that one.
Well, that was not an easy pitch to hit, and I think it was a pitch that Keuchel wanted to throw, and Justin Turner got to it anyway. Stephen A., this is the best part about baseball. Let's put it in basketball terms. This is like a 30-year-old guy finally figuring out, hey, I can shoot the 3 now. Hey, I'm a great three-point shooter. I was never great before, but now I am. It doesn't work that way in basketball, but the light went on for Justin Turner a couple of years ago. He changed his swing, and he's gone from a utility player to a guy hitting in the middle of the order, and he's a really, really good postseason player. He's 14 for 20 in his postseason career with runners in scoring position. 14 for 20. No one's ever done that, and his OPS, slugging plus on base, is bettered in the postseason only by Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
Was Chris Taylor's home run to open the game on the first pitch just a great at-bat for him, and it's as simple and plain as that? Or did Keuchel sort of lay off a little bit because he was starting off the game and didn't anticipate that Taylor would take that kind of swing? What was that about?
Right. Well, that was a first-pitch home run by a guy who's never played in the World Series before, so that was historic in its own right. But to me, Stephen A., Chris Taylor personifies in a lot of ways who the Dodgers are. He's a utility guy that somehow has turned himself into an everyday player who can hit with power and do all sorts of things. And more important, he can play shortstop one day, center field the next day. Not many teams have anybody who does that. In fact, he's the only player ever to hit a homer from shortstop and from the outfield in one postseason series, which he did last series. And that's who the Dodgers are, interchangeable pieces, movable parts, and that's one reason they win is they can mix and match every day with their lineup and say, what's the best guy for this position and this spot in the batting order today? Chris Taylor has really been really good this year when before he was just a utility guy.
Mr. Tim Kurkjian right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio discussing last night's Game 1, previewing Game 2 of this World Series tonight in Chavez Ravine in Los Angeles, California, before they depart for Houston Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games 3, 4, and 5. Tim Kurkjian right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's talk about Verlander tonight because I would dare say, Tim, this is a must-win. I mean, if the Dodgers open this World Series beating Keuchel and then Verlander, I mean, that just doesn't look good. I know they've got Rich Hill. I know Yu Darvish can pitch as well. But these guys ain't Keuchel and Verlander. If you're the Dodgers and you get the best of the 2 aces for the Astros, particularly the way that Verlander has been pitching, this series would, in all likelihood, in my mind, could be over. What do you say about that?
Well, over is a bit much, Stephen A., but Your point is well made. You fall down 0-2 and your 2 best pitchers get beat, that is a recipe for disaster. And that's, I think, where the Astros are headed if Verlander loses tonight. However, you know this. Last 10 postseason starts, he's got a 1.77 ERA. Since he showed up with the Astros, he's appeared in 9 games. They've won them all. He's been absolutely fabulous, and he's found his old ways. He's found whatever made him the MVP and the Cy Young 6 years ago. He's that guy again, at least he is right now. And it's part because he made a mechanical adjustment, but more than anything, Stephen A., he went from a losing bad situation in Detroit and was taken right to a pennant race with 40,000 people showing up every night and being the wildly competitive guy that he is. He just said, oh, this is built for me. It has rejuvenated him in every way, and he has been sensational since the day he showed up.
So we're talking about the adjustment that he made right there. If you look at him, how was he any different from what he was in Detroit?
Well, he's throwing harder now than he did, say, 3 years ago. 3 years ago, the velocity really started to dip, and no one is quite sure why. But miraculously, he's got a lot of his velocity back. Now, he's not throwing 100 in the ninth inning like he did in Detroit in 2011, but he's throwing 96 miles an hour now. And it's really hard to be a runner and then get faster when you're in your mid-30s, but that's what happened to him. He runs faster. He throws harder than he did 3 years ago, and that combined with a slider that he's developed on top of that great curveball makes him a very difficult pitcher. And, again, I think as much as he wanted his team to win Game 1, I think he looks at it and says, I'm saving our season right now. It starts with me tonight. That's the kind of guy he is.
We raved so much about when the Yankees were playing in the postseason against the Astros, how we hadn't heard the new Yankee Stadium that loud. The Dodgers have been playing the Chavez Ravine for quite a long time. I don't think I've ever seen it like that. It was electric last night. As a guy, again, that has been there on many occasions, covering baseball since 1979. What was it like for you to be in that environment last night? Could you give us a feel for how electric it seemed? Because it did seem to be electric.
Yeah, that's as alive as I've ever seen Dodger Stadium. That's as engaged as I've ever seen Dodger Stadium. And as I said, I covered the 81 and the 88 World Series there, so we've seen some great games in that park. But last night was a little bit different. I think when you wait almost 30 years for this, people get excited. I think when you're 55 games over 500 in July, or August, people start to take notice that something special is going on here, and they all showed up saying, this is our year, and it starts tonight in the World Series, and that's why they showed up. And they basically stayed to the end, too. It was really impressive.
Does Hill have a real legitimate big-time chance to beat Verlander tonight? And if so, why do you think so?
Well, Rich Hill has a chance to win tonight. His stuff is great. He's way better at home than he is on the road. He's got a chance to put a stranglehold on this. He's an older guy. He's been around. He's failed. He succeeded. He was almost out of baseball, basically. So this is borrowed time for him, and he knows that this big second chance he's gotten, or third chance, he's not going to blow it now. So Verlander is the better pitcher tonight, but to discount Rich Hill, especially with that big high-arcing curveball, is a big mistake.
Assuming this series wanes and it goes a bit deep, Keuchel did struggle at least once against the New York Yankees. Obviously, he lost last night. Any concerns there, or is he just terrific and had a stroke of bad luck in a moment or two?
He pitched well last night, Stephen A., but it's just another reminder in today's game. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is. If you don't locate it, if you make a mistake in location, you are going to pay. And it's not just going to be a line drive to the left fielder or in front of the left fielder. It's going to go 20 rows into the seats. That's how it works in today's game. So he missed location a couple times last night, and Chris Taylor and Justin Turner made him pay.
Last question. I give Barnes a lot of credit for calling the game last night with Kershaw, because he kept them low and around the plate. And I keep forgetting that A.J. Hinch, this man was a catcher. And so, when you look at it from that perspective, I just wonder, I wonder about the potency of whether it's a manager or a catcher himself on a game of baseball. So many times we look at the pitchers, we don't look enough at the catchers and the impact that they kind of have. Should we be paying attention to that as this series progresses?
Absolutely. And, more managers have been former catchers than any other position, and it comes as no surprise. When you're an outfielder, you really have nothing to do with the pitching staff. And the pitching staff has nothing to do with the everyday players. The only guy who goes between both is the catcher, because he's an everyday player, but his most important job is to handle the pitcher. So he's involved in every aspect of the game, and that's why so many catchers turn out as managers, A.J. Hinch being one of them. And he told us something great yesterday when he was in the last series. He is working as a catcher while he's the manager of the team. He's thinking like a catcher. Is Charlie Morton done? He talks to Brian McCann, his own catcher. Is Charlie Morton done? And they came to this understanding because A.J. Hinch understands, because he used to be a catcher.
Tim Kurkjian, appreciate the great job as always. By the way, who do you have winning tonight?
Well, I've got the Dodgers in 7, and I'm going to say they go back 1-1 because Justin Verlander is really good.
That's what I'm thinking. Appreciate it, Tim. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Okay, Stephen A. See you.
Take the one. Thanks a lot. The one and only Tim Kurkjian right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, 866-729-ESPN. It's 866-SAY-ESPN. I totally agree with them. Verlander has been unstoppable. And knowing them, Kate Upton's in the house. I just don't like it at all. Verlander has been unstoppable. Unstoppable. And I see him rising to the occasion tonight. Whatever Keuchel couldn't do, Verlander will. We'll discuss that and more up next. Plus, we'll get into Colin Kaepernick getting ready to write a book, looking for a book deal. Lots of stuff to talk about. So little time, but we'll discuss it. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Lots of stuff, like I said, I wanted to get into. I'm definitely going to get into Colin Kaepernick in just a second. But I want to talk about something that I saw on NBC Sports, authored by Mr. Dan Feldman. It reads, Adam Silver, quote, no need to change the NBA's marijuana policy. This is last July 30th. Just a few months ago. The reason why this is relevant is because Commissioner David Stern is on the record saying that he, talking to Al Harrington, I believe it's in the Players Tribune, he's basically saying that the NBA needs to modify its policy on marijuana usage and legalize it, essentially. The thinking is that it's virtually legal in various states. Denver Nuggets, Portland Trailblazers, Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors, Sacramento Kings. Those are 6 of the cities, all right? They all play in the state. Denver, Portland, Oregon, L.A. Well, I shouldn't say L.A. because the state of California, Lakers and the Warriors and the Kings. Play in a state with legalized recreational marijuana. Many more play in states that allows medical marijuana, and is trending toward more teams playing in places that permit marijuana. I want to emphasize what I'm about to say. My comments about weed use in no way are inclusive of medical marijuana. For those of you who don't know, probably because I disguise it pretty well, it's the only acting I think that I'm relatively good at. I lost my mother to cancer the morning of Game 1 of the NBA Finals, June 1st. Words can't describe what some hours in my days are like, knowing I'll never hear her again, knowing I'll never see her again. The devastation that it has wreaked in my life is beyond measure. But she had a wonderful, wonderful life. And she's not suffering any longer. And because of that, that's what enables me to go on, along with my friends, my family, my loved ones. I bring that up because my mother lost her battle with cancer. And if my mother had wanted to entertain the use of medical marijuana, I would not have hesitated. So I want anybody out there that's struggling with any kind of physical ailment or illness to know that when I speak against the use of weed, I am not talking about medical or medicinal marijuana in any way. I'm talking about it from a recreational perspective. I want to emphasize that there is no way in hell this should be legalized for professional athletes. Period. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not talking about the average citizen. I'm not talking about the rap artists like Snoop Dogg and others. I'm not talking about those of you who ain't playing professional sports and you're home and you just chilling and you want to smoke some weed. That's your business. If it's legal, I got nothing to say. But you are listening at this moment in time to somebody that has covered the NBA for in excess of 20 years, that has covered sports for in excess of 20 years. And I have seen instances where players were right in front of my face, wobbling and rocking back and forth without a damn clue as to where they even were. All their faculties were not in order. Now, I understand that marijuana has different effects on different folks, and I get all of that. But if I'm a paying customer, toiling the terrain, digging into my pockets, pulling out my hard-earned money, I want to see individuals completely lucid and cogent and ready to perform. Period. And if you need weed to calm you down and to desensitize your nerves, you ain't for professional sports. Period. Period. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I understand. Look, I personally know professional athletes who have performed better after using weed. So I'm not trying to imply that that's not possible. What I'm trying to say is that it can't be trusted. You're a professional athlete. In some instances, you speak before games. You definitely speak after games. And during the games, it stands to reason that there are instructions that you are receiving. There's communication that has to take place. And you need to have all your faculties in order. I don't want to hear no thing about some damn weed. Let me use weed. It's legalized anyway. Suck it up. Suck it up. You need weed to play in the NFL? The NFL ain't for you. You need weed to play in the NBA? The NBA ain't for you. Period. I'm sick and tired of all of this embarrassing nonsense. You're supposed to go in front of kids while you signing autographs, walking in and out of tunnels, warming up before a game. You're supposed to talk to the media after the game, and your ass is high? No. Hell no. Unacceptable. I want to repeat. I'm not talking about the average Joe. I'm not talking about people working 9 to 5. I'm not talking about rap artists and other people like that. I'm tight with Snoop Dogg. That's my man. I was just at his compound. And by the way, he was smoking weed while I was there. He ain't apologizing for it. I didn't do it. You know why? Because I work for ESPN. And they don't play that. Period. Period. I don't get to make rules. I have to abide by the rules. And if you advocate individuals being able to use marijuana, some of them going to come to games high. Some of them are going to come to games without all their faculties in order. Some of them are going to come to the games ill-equipped to perform. And it's bad enough that you're already asking the growing public to accept the diluted product. NFL, perfect example. Ratings dropping 15%. Losing revenue. Quality of play ain't the same. Why? Because collectively bargained to have less practices, less contact. We can understand it. Football is a violent sport. We got Adam Silver in the NBA and these guys modifying the schedule to avoid back-to-backs. So guys ain't sitting on the bench all the time, particularly for nationally televised games. There's modifications that are being made. This is not one that should happen. I'm sick and tired of the lack of discipline. You can't suck it up and avoid the weed. Get the hell out. Go do something else. Get a 9 to 5. But if you want millions of dollars And it calls for you to make the quote-unquote sacrifice of not smoking weed, and you can't hold off on that, the hell with you. Go to hell. Play somewhere else. Whole bunch of brothers playing in Rutgers Park, you know, and parks like Rutgers Park throughout the United States of America that can't make an NBA roster and make millions. I'm quite sure they'll gladly trade places with you. They're free to smoke some weed. How much you want to make a bet they trade in what they're doing to make millions playing basketball? How much you want to make a bet? I'm sick of this. Go to break.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! There's not much for me to say about Colin Kaepernick other than he's entitled to write a book. People are entitled not to buy it. People are getting on them because they're saying you're writing a book, you're not being interviewed, et cetera, et cetera. There's plenty of people that hold positions and have beliefs but don't have the innate ability to articulate their positions in the face of scrutiny. Simply because they're not informed in depth enough about the issues. That doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means they may not know enough to validate and authenticate their positions. But would I like to see him discuss it in front of scrutiny? Sure, I would. Whether he'll ever do it or not remains to be seen. It's really all I got to say about that. You heard what I had to say about former Commissioner David Stern supporting legalizing the use of marijuana within the National Basketball Association and how I emphatically and totally disagree. Let's get to the phones. Lewis in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing, man? Big fan.
All right. Appreciate it.
Just heard your rant, and I typically agree with you on a lot of things. I mean, you say you're against David Stern, but alcohol is legal, painkillers are legal. These guys aren't showing up to the games drunk. They're not showing up to the games smelling like vodka. Who says they're going to show up to the games or the interviews high?
I'm not. Hold on. I'm not trying to imply that all of them will. You have to remember, I'm somebody that doesn't believe that they should be allowed to drink either, as long as they're professional athletes. So you're talking to the wrong person. I'm not saying that it should be outlawed. Period. I'm saying for professional athletes, requiring that people come and patronize their product and watch them perform, I need to know that you're on an up and up and you're on an elite level. You're ready to go. I'm against all of it.
And I understand that, and I think they're professional athletes, but they're normal people as well.
I don't give a damn. Let me ask you a question. What do you do for a living, Lewis?
I'm a director of operations for a construction company.
Okay. Do you ask thousands upon thousands of people to come and watch you work every day?
No, sir.
All right. Well, if you did, would the standards be the same as the job that you have now?
And I get it. But my thing is that the painkillers are legal. Guys are getting hooked on the painkillers. I don't equate painkillers in the same breath, because guess what? You're not taking painkillers unless you're in pain. And I've already said that I'm a supporter of medicinal marijuana. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm talking recreation. I'm not talking medicinal. Anything medicinal, I support. If you're a football player and you're in agonizing pain, look, Brett Favre was addicted to painkillers. I never held that against him. I understand it with the beating that he took. The violence in football, if I saw an athlete addicted to painkillers, they get my sympathy, not my wrath. Anything that's used for medicinal purposes, I'm in complete support of. And if we don't know, we don't know. But if you know that the use is predicated on recreational, hell no. Absolutely not. Appreciate the call. Carlton in Tampa, long time no speak, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, a belated happy birthday to you, Stephen.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Incommunicado for a while. The big 5-0, is that correct?
Yes, it is, sir.
I'm a decade ahead of you, so.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you being a friend of the show that you are, and thank you for wishing me a happy birthday.
You're a young whippersnapper there still. So, in my mind, I'm fully with you on this idea that these guys, can't give up the weed for $10 million a year, even just during the season when they're going to get tested.
Right.
I'd give up food, sex. Heck, I would even think about giving up breathing for $10 million
I will confess that the sex part would be very, very difficult for me to give up. But go ahead.
$10 million. Boy, oh boy. Now, that's a lot of bank. Anyway, What I wanted to comment about is another guy with astounding lack of discipline, and that's Kaepernick. And his new book, I'm going to buy it if he has a chapter on why I decided to wear cop pig socks to practice. And he has another chapter on why I decided to wear a Castro T-shirt to a press conference. And he has another chapter on why I decided that it was a good idea to call Steve Bisciotti and Ray Lewis vile racists on social media.
What if all of them are included in the same chapter?
Well, if it's a nice long chapter, I would want to hear him expound on how he, with the help of his social justice warrior girlfriend, has literally torched his own career, because that's what he's done. Mm-hmm. This isn't any giant collusion effort by the NFL. Heck, the guy might be working today if he hadn't done all of those things. And now, of course, he threw the nuclear bomb in suing the NFL owners, so he's got exactly zero opportunity to probably work in the NFL ever again, and he did it all to himself. And that's what people need to realize. You can't just do whatever the heck you want and expect somebody to pay you $1 gazillion in their employment.
I agree with that, Carlton, but I'm going to ask you because I think you're a fair-minded thinker and you're very in-depth with your knowledge, and I really, really appreciate it. But I got to ask you this question. As regardless of how people have what he did, rather, isn't it fair when there are those like myself and others who bring up this reality? He was not speaking against military servicemen and women. He was not disrespecting the flag. He was taking a knee after speaking to a Navy SEAL who told him that would be the respectful way to protest, because you have the right to do that in this country, because he was addressing racial oppression, inequality, and brutality on the part of police officers. Whether we agree with that or not, isn't that what he was doing? And isn't it wrong for people like the President of the United States to try and hijack the issue and turning it to something that it's about that it was not about? Are you at least willing to acknowledge that?
But see, Stephen A., he got 1 out of the 4 right. The other 3 things that I just cited, he inflamed, people's opinions.
That's fair. I totally agree with you.
He set himself up for failure. He might have had a good heart with regard to that one clause. I think he's clueless with regard to all the other things.
Carlton, I still want an answer to the question. I agree with you. The pigs, the pigs on the socks, addressing cops to the Fidel Castro T-shirt, the girlfriend tweeting about Bisciotti and Ray Lewis and him not saying anything about it. I agree with you on all 3 of those points. What about my point?
Well, again, I think he's the failed messenger. It's a legitimate issue, but he is a very flawed guy to carry this message. Okay. And here's what I hope, and we've discussed this in the past. I hope some people in your profession and in the NFL, African Americans, can get together and say, here is what we would like to see this darn administration do for disadvantaged African American communities and youth in this country. And we're willing to put in some of our personal time, either going to youth sporting events or drug rehab clinics or other things that we've discussed as issues within the black community. I hope this turns into something positive. Because I feel that it's been a whole lot of nothing so far. I mean, I think Will Kane has said something along those lines.
He's right. He's right in your point, and to some degree, you're right about it as well, Carlton. I can't dispute that.
And so you're one of the key guys, though, that can help move this forward. So
I'm trying.
A group of guys you trust and try.
I'm trying.
All right.
I appreciate the call, buddy. Thanks a lot. Call back anytime. Always appreciate Carlton, who's now not in Massachusetts anymore. He's in Tampa, but still listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Enjoying this podcast? Then you should check out all of ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! Let's get back to the phones at 866-ESPN. Lonnie, you're live with Stephen A. Lonnie Love!
Hey.
What's up, man?
First off, Mr. Smith, I want to
you're mumbling. We can't hear you. You can't hear you, Lonnie. Talk clearly. Go ahead.
All right. First off, I want to have my belated condolences to you about your beautiful mother.
Thank you.
Not a problem. I myself having other issues. My mother is in Colorado and has severe dementia.
Keep your mouth to your mouthpiece, Lonnie, because we're losing you. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. Sorry about that. My mother has severe dementia, and she is on a marijuana regimen that is really helping. So the whole thing about medical marijuana is totally true. Myself, I'm a 55-year-old male with severe spinal cord injury, and I am on opioids and trying to go through every hoop in the book to get medical marijuana.
Okay.
So I totally agree with you.
Medicinal marijuana, yes. What about recreational, real quick? What about that?
You know, I know so many people that do it in every walk of life. I'm from business owners to truck drivers. So I can't say good or bad against it.
Okay.
When it comes to athletes, I totally agree with you. On public figures, when they're working, doing a job, they should not do it.
Lonnie, do me a favor. Call me back tomorrow when we have more time to discuss it, and I'll make sure to put you on early so we can revisit this, and I don't have to cut you off because time is running short. But you are for medicinal marijuana. You're not. Yep. You don't know. You can't judge one way or the other for recreational. I got it.
Correct.
Appreciate the call, buddy. Thank you. Brad, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Brad, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A., would you say it's safe to say that at least 50% of the NFL probably smokes marijuana?
I really don't want to do that.
Like, come on now.
I believe you. I believe you.
I want to say it's more.
I believe you.
But I know it's at least 50.
I believe you, but I understand. Go ahead.
Okay. So my point is, the notion that changing this rule is going to make their play on the field worse. They're doing it now anyways. That's happening already.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Okay,
wait a minute now. If you're saying they're doing it now anyway, why condone it?
Only because the players are asking for it because all they're doing is paying fines and losing games and losing money.
But I get no. I'm asking. No, answer my question. I'm saying if you're willing to acknowledge that the product is already diluted, why condone it?
Because it can't be controlled anay.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. If you start targeting cats and they're worried about losing their money, yes, it can.
Well, I'll leave that there. But here's what I do think: if they were to eventually make it okay, which 10 years from now is not far fetched because it's all about money, and if it's federally legal and they have big corporations and weed corporations and they're funding the NFL, don't be surprised if it happens. But if it does, I just think at least the players, if they smoke weed, then it has to be in your medical information, and teams have to know about it. And
if it's in your medical information, Brad, if it's in your medical information, I'm going to flow with you on that. Thanks for the call. Nick in Jersey, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, go.
What's going on, Mr. Smith?
Go ahead, buddy, real quick. You only got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I just want to say, one, I love you. Two, I want to say one time in the air, stay off the weed. And third, I just want to say, when it comes to Kaepernick, I think he's, just using his platform to do good, and that he's not a bad person to do it. He's just a kid that played football who made it to the Super Bowl, and yeah, he did a few little stupid things here and there, but I think you got to support the guy.
I got it. I appreciate the call, Nick. Thank you so much. Have a good day. We can discuss this tomorrow when we got more time, because I ain't going to let some of y'all escape with some of the things that y'all said. I'll wait until I have more time to get on y'all about that. But I'm against it. Plain and simple. I'm going to get legalizing recreational marijuana. Medicinal, no. I'm not against that. But recreational, hell yes. By the way, Verlander will even the series tonight for the Houston Astros, and then the Dodgers will win later. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.